In a northeast Nebraska cornfield last summer, we showed you how rootworms could significantly damage corn. We talked with Nebraska Extension entomologist Tom Hunt then about the need for control and rotation. We talked with Tom again recently about the lessons that field can provide for growers in 2016.
Well, that was at our Haskell Ag Lab, the University of Nebraska Haskell Ag Lab, and that was our test plots for corn rootworm. What we do there is we plant corn on corn, and in the year previous to our test, we plant corn, and we plant late corn and corn with multiple maturities with the idea of sucking in beetles so that they lay their eggs, and so we have a good test the next year. And you saw the results of that last year. We had a lot of rootworms in the ground, and we had a variety of different treatments, different products and control strategies to test. And you saw where we had little to no control strategy, we had corn that was almost unharvestable in some of those plots, all the way to very well protected corn in others. The other thing we saw there was it happened to be next to this study where we had been using a similar hybrid over and over again, a similar hybrid that had VT3, and we believe that there's possibly some resistance developing there as we had a reduced control of our VT3 or Cry3BB1 products in that particular test area also.
Compared to the damage you've seen in the past, how severe was that damage?
That was moderate. So it wasn't a high level of resistance if it was resistance. So it was moderate, but it was more than we would have expected in the other studies we've done with those products in the past on that field.
What does it mean for farmers as they can try to control rootworms this spring? Does it mean that you do recommend they do something specific?
Well, I think, if you have corn on corn, you have to think about problem of rootworm, particularly if you have corn last year that seemed to bring in a lot of beetles that would lay eggs. And so control tactics, there's a variety of them that work still, the conventional insecticides, but also the transgenics. But I would say one thing is to use a pyramid that is a transgenic that has two different toxins that are different, targeting a corn rootworm. That is one method. If you can rotate, that's always a good method. And as we've told some farmers, and we've seen this happen with some farmers that have several fields, when we say rotation, it doesn't mean you have to rotate every field corn, soybean. You can also help reduce resistance and the development of resistance by rotating one of your fields every year to soybeans. So we have some farmers in some cattle producing areas, cattle feeding areas like Cumming County, that are doing that. Out of 4 fields one field each year, it goes to soybean. And we think that will go a long way in helping reduce their problems.
If you are doing that continuous even for 2 or 3 years though, is it that much more important to select a different protein that you're using in those fields?
Exactly. Basically, it would be nice if you don't do the same thing twice in a row. Now, I understand, there are some practical issues with that, the number of proteins, the number of products we have. So you could set up a rotation of maybe 2 years of a particular hybrid package that you really like for 2 years, and then switch for the next 2 years to another tactic, either another protein, another pyramid, or maybe conventional insecticides. Then in the next 2 years, so you kind of have 6 years of, 2 years this, 2 years another product, 2 years another tactic. That's another way to go about rotation. It doesn't have to be that year-to-year type of rotation.
If it's a wet fall, does a late planted corn crop bring in a bigger threat of rootworms?
Not really. Basically, I would say the late planted or late maturing corn is one of the primary things that can bring in, it can suck in a lot of beetles in the area that will then lay eggs. The thing that has the most impact with respect to rain is, say, in the spring, when you have saturated fields during egg hatch, when those rootworm eggs are hatching, you can actually have high mortality. We did see that the last couple of years previous to last year, where we had a lot of low fields that had heavy rains and saturated soils for days at a time. Those fields where we would have expected rootworms to be had very few because they died. So rain can be to our advantage too in this case.